I've had to take a lot of teasing from at home, stuff like all roads lead to Rome. You know, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. I've had to hear that a lot. But it's a pleasure to be in Rome and an honor to make this presentation. The Prime Minister of the Bahamas has said to the Foreign Ministry that the number one issue for our country is climate change. And so the topic which this covers is where I'd like to start, the issue of climate change, which for the Bahamas is best summed up in the word existential. So we have 700 islands, 3,000 keys, and 80% of the land in the Bahamas is within 1 meter of the sea. And I was speaking in New York a couple of weeks ago at the Explorers Club that's trying to mobilize the world to stop the exploration of the Arctic oceans. And they indicated that if the trends continue, the city of Nassau, which sits on the island of New Providence, by the year 2070, 30% of the land on New Providence will be underwater, and by the year 2100, 70% of the land will be underwater. And the Prime Minister's often expressed this in public fora as Bahamians having the choice of being climate refugees or a watery grave. And so there is the fierce urgency of now with regard to this issue. So Italy and the Bahamas, amongst others, all our countries, share a commitment to the Paris Agreement, which represents our collective determination to mitigate the impacts of climate change. We appreciated Italy's push for an inclusive agenda, a setting for COP26, and we valued Italy's intervention in support of Youth for Climate in COP27, and we look forward to continuing to partner with Italy, COP28 in Dubai. Climate change as a foreign policy issue reflects the realizations that the world's nations must collaborate to mitigate global warming, harmful effects, and secure a stable and sustainable future for all. Next issue, food security and value chains. So joining me today is our ambassador to the Food and Agricultural Organization, who's Winston Pinnock, and we most recently attended the UN Food Systems +2 stock-taking moment here in Rome in July of this year. And he's a staunch supporter of food security as a fundamental human right and an issue we share as countries with diverse ecosystems and agricultural traditions. Our populations depend on the reliable production and distribution of food, and we must protect it from the growing threats of climate change and pandemics. Supporting small-scale farmers, implementing sustainable agricultural practices, and investing in research and technology are essential components of achieving food security in our region. So, energy and the green economy. Energy security is another vital issue. We confront the changing world. The transition to renewable and sustainable energy sources is necessary for reducing our carbon footprint and ensuring a stable energy supply. So Italy and Latin America and the Caribbean have the potential to be leaders in clean energy production and innovation. Collaboration on renewable energy projects can reduce our dependence on fossil fuels and strengthen our energy security. And we look to the Italian Trade Agency, amongst others, for greener ways of approaching manufacturing and production and for creating a pathway to green energy security. And then inclusive and effective tax cooperation. So I've raised this in the bilateral context with the Italian government, and every opportunity I get with the EU, it's a question of these measures taken by OECD and the EU with regard to tax cooperation and the appearance that the EU and the OECD are the moral police on tax. And we have a disagreement on how this is being handled. The net effect of what you've done is to make it a nightmare for people to do banking in the Bahamas. To open a bank account, to trade internationally has become so complicated that people are vexed by this problem. So we've been talking about a more broadly based solution to this problem, dealing with the UN to deal with tax issues and setting up rules for dealing with this as opposed to these systems which now exist. And so we're making that case again here. And the other case I'd like to make is that of GDP per capita. So the Bahamas, 40% of our national debt today is due to climate issues. And we are unable to access concessional lending because the Bahamas is considered a high-income country. But in order to get back on your feet in emergencies, funding is necessary. We've got to go to the markets, and the amount that you're paying on interest is too high. So we've been saying, notwithstanding the GDP per capita, we need to turn to a new measure, the Multi-Vulnerability Index. So I'm making a pitch for that here today. The world is changing. The challenges facing the world are daunting, but we appreciate this forum, Italy's leadership in creating opportunities for collaboration and shared growth. And Italy and Latin America and the Caribbean have much to gain from strengthening our ties and addressing these challenges collectively. Climate change, environmental emergencies, value chains, food security, supply chains, energy security, tax reform, complex international situations are all arenas where we can make a significant impact together. And I look forward to working with all of my colleagues here today on trying to resolve these issues. Thank you very much.